Now, aviation safety and NAS expert Philip Mann. Philip, great to see you. Thank you for your time today. So, of these most recent airline incidents, which Nancy kind of laid out there, which one stands out the most to you and why?
Well, the B-52 incident stands out the most to me because it's got a lot of the hallmarks of the January crash, the one that kind of got us started on this air traffic thought process. Because it has those same characteristics. There's a military aircraft operating near civilian aircraft. Nobody knows the military aircraft's there. They're relying on visual approaches, and I haven't heard anything affirmative or negative, but I kind of my impression is that the B-52 was probably also not using its ADS-B. It was also not using all the "Hey, here I am" equipment that would have made it very easy for the commercial airliner and the commercial airliner's equipment and systems to see that the B-52 was there, regardless of whether a radar operator pointed it out.
You know, and as Nancy just reported there, we heard the pilot of that plane apologizing to his passengers after avoiding the B-52. I'd like to listen to that again.
You probably saw the airplane kind of sort of coming at us. Sorry about the aggressive maneuver. It caught me by surprise. This is not normal at all.
All right, Philip, so not normal at all. Do you think an apology or an explanation or whatever you want to call it was necessary in what really could have been a life or death situation there?
Well, I think it's good customer management, good expectation management, and if a pilot is commenting about an aggressive maneuver, it is something that might have scared a lot of people, or might have possibly even injured somebody if they weren't expecting it, if they were maybe kind of sitting crooked in their seat or something. So I think it was totally within a good practice as somebody who just experienced that kind of thing to close the loop for the passengers so they understand what happened. Now, certainly not the end of the story, but at least within the cockpit, if everybody's okay and then they get a little explanation about, hey, this is what happened, then folks aren't maybe going to get off the plane as jittery as they might be otherwise.
Yeah, absolutely. Because yeah, that would be extremely scary to be a passenger on there. Why do you think, Philip, that the pilot wasn't aware of that B-52 bomber, potentially being in his path and apparently being in his path?
Yeah, I suspect it's a lot of things. I mean, the pilot himself mentioned that the radar controller at Minot didn't point out that there was a B-52 flying around. So the air traffic controllers, and at Minot, they're going to be military air traffic controllers. They didn't point out that the B-52 is flying around. They didn't indicate, similar to what happened at Reagan. They didn't point out that, hey, there's a helicopter off in front of you to the side. Same thing. The air traffic controllers didn't point out that there's this bomber. Additionally, and I suspect that the bomber wasn't using its ADS-B equipment. It's the equipment within the bomber that would tell the rest of the world, hey, here I am and here's where I'm going, because that equipment will communicate directly to the commercial airliner, and they would see it on their scope, and it's designed to work when there's not good radar coverage. And up in that area, up in the Dakotas and there's not super great radar coverage everywhere, because there's just not a lot of air routes there, not a lot of people live in that area. But they do. That's part of the reason why we have ADS-B, why we have this equipment that's designed for one aircraft to tell another. It comes out of aircraft operating in Alaska, where there is very little radar and lots and lots of NATS airplanes, and they do need to know where each other is. And this is one of those circumstances where I suspect the deference to the military aviators and the military operations saying, hey, you guys know what you're doing, go ahead and figure it out. That deference, rather than making them play by the rules of all the commercial airliners, is what contributed to this.
Yeah, and luckily we are not talking about a tragedy, just a mistake, which hopefully will incite some change.
Thank you for watching. Subscribe below and download our NewsNation app right now on your phone, and you will get fact-based, unbiased news for all Americans.